Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the show. This is the Millennial Millionaire Podcast, and I am your host, Steven Cohen. This podcast is focused on bringing some of the wisest minds from across the globe to discuss concepts, strategies, and ideals that will lead them to be top performers in their respective industries and their lives. This show is for the millennials and millennials at heart to transcend their mindset, their health, and their income to the next level. We are so excited to have you on this journey with us. Welcome to the show. Yo, Millennial Millionaires. Welcome back to the show. Happy quarter two. Happy spring. Hope everyone's having a phenomenal start to their April. It's been a long winter, but we made it, metaphorically speaking and physically speaking. We're in spring. We're in quarter two. I hope everyone is absolutely crushing. We have another special guest who I'm super excited to chat here with. We have Mr. Dustin Gutkowski. Dustin is the founder and CEO of Results Roofing. He grew his roofing company from $0 to $100 million within 4 years, one of the fastest growing roofing companies in the country. He co-hosts 2 podcasts, DJ Show and Recognize, with some UFC fighters, Kevin Holland and Terrence McKinney, which I'm excited to get into. He's personally mentored thousands of people to achieve financial and personal growth, personally coached by Coach Patrick Bet-David, and just a super cool dude who I'm excited to get to know, man.
Thank you. I'll send your money afterwards. I appreciate it.
Yeah, checks in the mail, right? Dude, so you just flew into Vegas?
Yeah,
just got it from Houston?
Dallas.
Dallas?
Yeah, probably should have been better coming in from Houston since they lost my luggage and late check-in. But we're here. We made it.
We made it, dude. That's all we can think of. So for those that don't know who you are, give us a quick little high-level background, who you are, what you're about, and we'll get into it, man.
Yeah, man, I mean, great intro, so I can't top that. But father, first and foremost, right? 3 kids. My oldest, 6, will be 7 soon, Connor. I have Kobe, who's 3, and I have Gianna, who just turned 1. So 2 boys and a girl. My wife, Abana, she's the real MVP. She handles it, man. None of this would exist without her. She's at home taking care of the kids, takes care of the castle, takes care of me.
Super mom.
Oh, man, it's great. Like, women are amazing, and I say, like, she's what if my kids were not taken care of, there's no way I'd do what I do. That's because father, to me, is the most important thing in the world. It's what I ground myself in, and I try to ground everything I do in it. Business, I won't do business with somebody that's a shitty father. Like, I won't be friends with them. So father, first and foremost, man. That's like, really, it's kind of funny. Somebody asked me the other day, like, what's your hobby? And I was like, being a dad. They're like, what? I'm like, man, if I could choose anything in the world to be, it'd be a dad. So that's kind of, who I am. I love people, man. Love being, around people, impacting people. Really, just had a call on the way here, and it was about, look, man, the end result is helping people, but seeing someone smile, man, like seeing an employee that you help smile, seeing them become better, that to me is kind of the ultimate thing. And that's why I really do what I do. So that's who I am, man. Outside of being a husband, a father, and work, that's really it. I do the podcast. I think it's fun, but you get to talk to cool people, right? Just think about this. It's like a phone call last week, and we're flying into Vegas to do a few other things, and here we are, right? It's just like that world. This doesn't exist without podcasts, so that part of it. And that's really it, man. That's kind of me in a nutshell. It's actually pretty boring, but I love it.
No, I think you're anything but boring. I think it's super cool, dude, that you started that talking about fatherhood. I'm not a father yet. I plan on having a fiance. Hopefully pop some kids out here in the next 2-3 years. But I feel like, especially being in the sales industry and seeing people grow, I feel like right now what we're missing is strong dads, strong fathers. I feel like in society, when you don't have a strong household and the family union isn't congruent, that's when weak things happen. That's when kids get into issues and challenges and they don't reach your potential. What's your thoughts on what's going on right now with fatherhood and maybe lack of strong men in our community, and what do you think we could do to fix it?
Yeah, you need your father, man. So I don't know my father. That's the crazy thing. So I have no idea what his name is. So we were just talking about last name. My last name is my mother's maiden name, right? So it's my, I guess my grandfather's name. So I don't know who my real dad is. Like, if you offered me, hey man, here's $1 billion, I literally don't know who he is. My stepdad was a train wreck growing up. So I didn't have that, and I was like wild. There was no right or wrong. There was no, consequences, no accountability, no nothing. I mean, I was destined for a path of failure. And I use this that I grew up just 2 weeks ago. I get a call from jail, And of course, I know it's my brother. I have a brother that's 6 years younger than me, 5, 6 years younger than me. And this is how close we are apart. We're literally born on the same day, 5 years apart. Both of our birthdays are December 18th. It's creepy, right? 5 years apart, same mother, different dads, grew up in the same house, same trailer park. He's probably going to prison for, I don't know how long, but I think the list was like 13 felonies and he was on probation. That's the life that was meant for me. I mean, really, like that's the life that I was out growing up where I grew up at. And that person that was my best friend at one point, who's the guy that I had nobody else but him because we grew up where I grew up. It was just me and my brother. And that dude's going to prison for probably 20, 30, 40 years, if not longer. There was no father figure, man. There was no, and I'm not blaming a dad because you still have your own choices in life, but it helps. And I didn't have that for a long time because I even look at like my son now, he's 6, and I reverse engineered it. Like, man, if I had a dad, what would I ask him? And so instead of like saying, well, I don't have a dad, what do I do? I just say, well, if I had a dad and I was going through this, what would I ask him? So I just talk about that to my son and my kids and what would I want to do with him. And I think it's such a huge thing because there's times in my life I'm like, man, if I just would have maybe had a dad to call and lean on about I'm struggling with this. And I say the impact of it is when I got older, I don't know, 30, 31, I met my mentor when I was older. And it was the first time in my life I had someone that I felt genuinely cared about me, that wanted the best for me. And that was a really weird feeling. I was like, wow, man, this guy, like, you know, of course my wife, but outside of that. And the impact he had on my life helped get me to where I'm at. And what's crazy is he's now my business partner and works for me. He was my boss at one point and literally taught me what I know about like leadership. And it's so important because I look at him like, hey man, I genuinely think if it wasn't for him, none of this would exist. And if it wasn't, there's two people. If it wasn't for my wife and it wasn't for him, none of this would exist. And that impact on having that father-like figure that would call you when it wasn't about work, that would talk to you about things that didn't have anything to do with the P&L, it created such an impact on my life. It made me want to be better. And then him believing in me made me believe in me that I could do better. And I think that as a father is even a greater impact. You can look at the people out there that don't have a father in their life, like myself, and you can still make it, but the road was so hard. It was, you know, a beat down. And I look at my kids and I'm like, why would I not want to help them, guide them, like make their own decisions, of course, and not just tell them what to do. But it's like, hey, Connor, if you go left, there's going to be a major hole over there. If you go right, there's going to be a bunch of thorn bushes, man. Just be careful. Like, you're going to have to pick your path, but I'm just going to I'm going to watch out for different things in the road that I've been through. And I think it plays such an important role in our life because just being able to call someone and saying, hey, Dad, I'm struggling with this. Even times like now, man, I'm still learning this as I go. I can't call, hey, Dad, what'd you do when I was 6? Like, what'd you do when I got in trouble? You know, my son's going through it, and I'm like, dude, this kid's a spitting image of me. You know, like he acts just like me. Holy shit, you know.
Apple's not too far from the tree.
Man, dude, it's like against it. You know, it is. But I love being a dad, so I can't imagine it being any other way. And I think that, look, our kids didn't ask to be brought in this world. We brought them in this world. Step up and be a man. And if you're not a man, I have zero respect for you. If you can't be a father, I have zero. Like, I don't want you in my life. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't care how much money you have. You are not anybody I want to be in because I think, you know, especially when they start getting a little bit older, I watch now, man, my wife, her daughter's 1 and her son's 3, and they're my wife kind of does everything for him, but I watch my son starting to get more independent. And I feel like, especially going to school, interacting with other kids, the father's role as they get older, I feel like becomes so much more impactful. And just like the other day, he was like, Dad, I don't really have a lot of friends at school. I said, why? He's like, I don't know, Dad. Like, you know, whatever. I said, hey, man, start going up to him every single morning and just saying, hey, good morning, have a great day. Like, what? Hey, Joe, good morning, have a great day, man. And when you get there, he's like, why? I said, just do it. So after about 3 or 4 days, he goes, Dad, they're all my friends now.
Yeah.
Because he just started going up to him, and I was like, well, what did they say? He goes, well, the first couple of days, they didn't say anything. I said, they didn't even say thank you? He goes, no, but I knew what they were thinking, Dad. I could see it. I said, what were they thinking? He goes, they were really happy that I told them I had a great day. And they said after about a week, he said they were all his friend. And they all started coming up to him saying, hey, good morning, Connor. I hope you have a great day. And it's like, man, that's the impact. It's small, but that's a major impact for a kid coming to school saying, I don't have any friends. And now all the kids want to be, be your friend. He's in kindergarten, so he's young, but I just think it's one of the most important roles, right? Being a mom and dad is so important.
Dude, that's powerful. And, I think leadership is very similar to parenthood. And you can usually tell how good of a leader someone is based on how well of a parent they do and how they act with their kids and their family. Simon Sinek talks about this, how being a leader is just like being a parent. You want what's best for them. You want more for them than you had for yourself. You want to support them and coach them, but you don't want to enable them. And whenever I think of a good parent, and I know for sure, dude, you're an awesome leader in your organization because of how passionate you are about your kids and creating something that you didn't have in your life. It's super inspiring. Dustin, I'm curious, man. So I mentor and coach a lot of people. I've been in the direct sales industry for over a decade, so I see people come in, and I always ask myself the question, what separates someone from someone that wins in life and loses in life, whether that's in business, whether that's in their personal relationships, right? Like we have this graph of people, and you can kind of tell, like, okay, this dude's crushing in the marketplace, he's not crushing in the marketplace. And a lot of times I base it based off of their history and how they were raised and the environment that they had and the lack of support or the abundance of support they had. For you, dude, I knew you were homeless growing up. You have a super powerful story. How did you take the pain and the challenges and the adversity and the trials and tribulations, like a lot of people have, but instead of allowing that to become a victim and creating your identity of why you can't be successful and crushing it in life, how did you turn that around from triumph, from victim to victor?
I think want to go back to the kid thing, and you're right, is like it's all an energy. And when something bad happens to you and you feel angry, it's an energy. And when you feel something good happens to you, you feel happy. It's still an energy, right? Like it's like this good vibes, like you say, good vibes, bad vibes. So right before our oldest was born, I was probably maybe a midlife crisis. I don't know, but it was close. I actually didn't have a job. So right before he was born, like with the last month, I didn't have a job.
When was this?
So Connor will be 7 in June. So this is 7 years ago, roughly, right? Didn't have a job. And I was super embarrassed. Just, I've been troubled past. I was in and out in jail when I was younger, just, stupid things like drinking, partying, that type of stuff. And I went to my wife and I said, I don't know my dad. We tried to like find him. We went through this little like spiel, like we got to find my dad. Like that was going to change something, right? It's not going to change shit, but it makes you feel good. Like, well, if I find my dad, and I said, man, I don't like this last name. It's like, what does it mean? I don't even know. My grandfather on that side had passed away. I didn't know him, didn't talk to him. So like, okay, what are we even doing? So I told my wife, I was like, you haven't changed your last name yet. We had just gotten married like a year before. I said, why don't we change his last name? Like, I want to just start over. She's like, okay, babe, like whatever. And I'll tell you this, like we're starting to change this. So she's like, let's wait till after kid's born. Right? Okay, fair enough. And then we'll pick out a last name and you can change it and just start over. This last name, it just brings trauma, bad memories. Like, I don't want to be a part of it. And the day I saw my son born, I was like, I saw my wife holding him and I was just crying. It's like all this pain was like leaving my body. I was like, man, I'm going to make this kid proud of me. Like, we can take this last name, Gutkowski, and make it something special. There's nothing there. Like, there's no history. Like, there is no Gutkowskis. There's no more Gutkowski boys. There's nothing. It's like, this starts now. And I was like, it's that flip of when something happens to you, you can look at it as a problem or an opportunity. And I think I just started when something came to me, I was like, okay, here's the problem. Now it's an opportunity. What's the solution? And it started in that moment was like, okay, I'm already going through this pain. I'm tired of feeling this. Why don't I flip this and do something with it? This energy is energy, right? So you can get mad and go off and throw a tantrum, or you can go off and like work out and blow off steam. One of them drains you mentally. One of them increases your health. So it's kind of like that same thing. I started to say, okay, man, I got nothing to lose. Like, I'm in the dumps. I just had a kid. I don't even have a freaking job. I'm a loser. I'm a bum. I failed my wife miserably. I failed my kid. I've amounted to nothing in my life. I blame my parents. My parents aren't here right now. I blame the trailer park I grew up in. Trailer park's not here right now. I blamed all my old bosses and leaders. They're not here right now, but there is one person that's here and it's been there every situation. Me. I'm the common denominator. So I'm going to fucking own it. I'm just going to own it. It's me. I'm a loser. I'm better than what I'm not as good as I think I am. And I need to get down to zero and find out, okay, who am I really? And I started focusing on who am I? Okay, this is who I am. Now, who do I want to be? And I started focusing on who I wanted to be. And I realized my entire life, man, I started trying to make everyone happy around me because I wanted people to like me. And I told a lot of stories. I feel like I was super unauthentic. I would make up lies about my dad. I'd make up lies about my upbringing because I was embarrassed, man. Like, no one wants to tell you, hey, my mom is a crackhead still. I don't know my real dad. I grew up in a trailer park and I was homeless at 14 and I didn't have money for food at times. I went to bed hungry. That just story sucks. It doesn't sound fun. And so I would lie about it. And then I'm like, this is who I am. Okay, take it or leave it. And I said, I would rather be happy and be alone with my wife and kid than have a million friends and be miserable. And so I just started like, hey man, be you, they'll adjust. And I just started being myself and like, who do I want to be? And in that moment, man, it's like, I stopped worrying about what other people thought of me. And I said, this is my past. I'm only going to create my future. Because I think we try to dictate our future off of our past. And it's like, I'm just going to dictate my future off my future. Like, where do I want to go? Here's where I'm going to go. And that was it, man. It changed. And then, you know, I think what you said is like, why are people successful and some aren't? It's because they just don't turn it off. Like, successful people just don't turn it off. It's an all the time thing. It's not a part-time thing. It's not a today thing. It's not an hour thing. It's like, you don't turn it off. It doesn't matter where you're at. You're doing something. And I just think for me, man, you got to take accountability for who you are. This is your life, and it's only your life. It's nobody else's. And I got to take accountability for it. And I started taking accountability for it, and everything that happens in my life it's on me, man. And I have the choice to, maybe I didn't have a choice for what happened to me, but I have a choice on how I fix it or what the solution is. And I'm just not going to let some outside situation take away from what I really want in life. And so I'm working every day at that no matter what. And some days are tougher than others, right? Some day more shit's thrown at you. Some days there's literally 10 things that are out of your control that happen to you. But guess what? It's still accountability that they're your problems. You have to find a solution to fix it.
I love that, man. Thank you so much for sharing. It's powerful. I'm curious, Dustin. So a lot of the things that you're saying, I've learned through experience, personal development, being around leadership, mentorship, putting myself in proximity to people that have the results I want. Do you feel like a lot of these principles of, you know, extreme ownership and shifting your perspective and reframing situations in your mind to put yourself into an empowering state, do you feel like you naturally learn that from your upbringing and just from a survival to thriving mentality? Or were there people in your life or some type of pursuit of growth that you found that allowed you to create that?
Because I think people are motivated by two things, pleasure or pain. And most people are motivated by pain. And when you have an extreme case of the pain or a bad, that like I did and many people have, you either fuel it to do great or you fuel it to do bad. And I think that was it. What's funny is people are like, how many books you read a month? And I'm like, dude, 0. I probably read a couple a year. I'm not a big book guy. If I do audio, I'm a guy that'll read a book. Here's what I'm notorious at. There's probably 500 books in my library, and they're all probably under like 10%, 30%, because I'll read until I like something. And when I like a nugget out of there, I take it and use it. And so I'm super guilty at that, right? I think in the last 12 months, I've read 2 books, front to back, Patrick Bet-David, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, which got me super motivated, and Blue Ocean Strategy, because it's actually probably my favorite book of all time. It's kind of what I based my company off, ironically. Those 2 are probably the only 2 I've read in the last 12 to 18 months, fully, right? Maybe 2 years. I'm not a big book guy. I agree with the mentor stuff to an example, like listen to people, but I'm also anti it because nobody cares like you are. Like, you're thinking a mentor is going to save you. He's not. Mentor doesn't give a shit if you go out of business. They're not going to tell you that, but they don't care. Now, I do roofing, you do solar. You probably have people on your team that you mentor that you truly do care about, and you would go to no lengths to help succeed. Facts. People in my company, I've do everything in the world for. I'm sorry, man. Like, Joe in freaking Iowa that doesn't work for my company, like, I can't. There's only so much, right? So I think the mentorship is going to help you with some nuggets. but that's about it, right? So I think a lot of this stuff you have to figure out on your own. And I think that's where a lot of people fails, because they want the perfect opportunity. They want everybody to do it for them. They think some mentor is going to help them. The book, the conference, everything else is going to. No. That's maybe like 5% of it. It's a small nugget that can help you, kind of like with the landmines, like out there in the field. But you've got to go do it and learn on your own. And I think I've just failed my way to success, man. I've fucked up so bad and made so many mistakes and done so much bad things, like failure-wise. I've bought a house, had it foreclosed on, got my car repoed when I was 24 after coming out of the trailer park and back to being homeless, living in a car that I had to pay for. I've done it all, right? Like I've done all those things. I've just failed my way to success, but I just didn't quit. I just kept going. And along the way, you realize that situation you were in 10 years ago, I have that situation again. I'll have this again. Oh, this is what I should have did. This is what I did. So I just think when you go out there and try to do it on your own, man, you learn so many different things that you eventually, if you don't quit, fail your way to success. And that's just literally what has happened. And you align yourself with the right people. Of course, that can open doors for you. And there is momentum to gain when you start having success, right? Like you guys run a super successful solar company. You don't want to just partner with average companies or below average, right? So there's a alignment where you've reached a level to where there's probably doors you can open that the average person can't, and it makes it a little bit easier, but you have to still get to that point first. And so I just think, man, if more people just went out there and did stuff, they would be so shocked at how far they can go, but they just don't try it because they're so afraid of failure and what other people are going to say.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. To piggyback off what you just said, I think it's a life hack for people. If you're looking for mentorship, right? Because we've used that word a few times, and I agree with you, right? Mentors will help guide you, but ultimately you need to be the one paddling the boat. You need to be the one out there in the arena making it happen. But a hack for people, because I get asked all the time, is like, how do you find a mentor, right? Sure, you can go pay to play, you can go, pay people, especially now in the coaching world, like it's a whole thing. But in reality, it's literally what you said. Find a vehicle that you have access to someone who has created the life that you want, whether it's a sales team, whether it's a direct sales, network marketing, going to work for a company where you can be direct to the people at the top. And they're willing to give you mentorship because they have an invested interest in your success because you have an invested interest in their success. So the easiest thing that y'all can do if you're looking for some mentorship, some guidance, maybe you're stuck at a job you don't like, maybe you're unfulfilled in whatever you're doing, is like go partner with someone, even if you're not getting paid what you feel like you should, because the value and the example you'll get from that situation will far pass any type of monetary result that you get.
And it depends on where you're at. So like I think the question is, a lot of people like it depends where you're at in your season. If you're a guy, let's say, just started a company, don't have a company, you don't really have any value to bring, right? And let's just be honest. And you think you do, but you don't. And so this whole notion of fake it till you make it, internet gurus, has got people so twisted. Like, I'm like, hey man, you reach out to me and you want to go have coffee, and no offense, but you live in your mom's house and you're telling me you're success. Like, you're not, man. And there's no value there. Just like I don't bring value to certain people. There's guys out there where I don't have the value yet that I can offer them anything. And so, I'll use an example is we partnered with a guy, Derek Fay, in Florida, and he's a gangster. What he's done a lot of things that I want to accomplish, and we gave him partnership in our companies to help us grow. Well, why? Because if I go to that guy and say, hey man, you want to have coffee and let's talk, the guy's exited $100 million plus companies, and so I had to bring some type of value, and the value was my growth of my company and where I want it to go, right? But I had to give up something for it, and so. If you're new in the game, you have time to offer, right? If you're new to the game, you have an ability to almost the work ethic component. Maybe you have to give up some of your company, maybe not, maybe it's money. If you're, 2, 3, 4 years in, and you have a track record, well, maybe you can find somebody else that could partner with. Let's use roofing and solar. If you're a solar company that's maybe doing $5 to $10 million a year, and I'm a roofing company doing $5 to $10 million a year, that's an aligned partnership, right? That we could work together and say, look, man, there's value that you could bring me and I could bring you, and that's how you find maybe a coach or a mentor, right? Or you get with a roofing company that maybe a guy or a solar company that's exited his company a large portion. Maybe he doesn't have a whole lot going on right now, and he's kind of checked out of the game. He's not in the day-to-day grind. And imagine if you go to him and you say, hey man, I eventually want to sell my solar company. I'll give you 5 to 10% of my exit. If you can help me go from 10 million to 100 million and we can get a $200 million exit, I'll give you 10% of it on the sale price, write it down. If you can just help guide me through this, that dude's going to help you if he's interested. He's going to be all in, right? Yep. So it depends on just where you're at and where you want to go. And so align yourself, but don't just think go and hire somebody off the internet that's going to coach you. And do research if you do. Like, find out what they've really accomplished. Google's one hell of a drug, man. You can find out anything, see where they're at, see what they've done, research their company, make sure it aligns with what you want, because you don't want to get in bed with somebody that's not going to be part of who you are and where you want to go.
Yeah, or that doesn't align with your values. You know, 100%. Just because someone has nice cars on Instagram or they seem like they live a good lifestyle doesn't mean they're aligned with who you are and where you want to go. And you can go in the wrong direction really, really quick. Dustin, let's talk about the roofing business, man. So obviously 7 years ago, you know, you had your child and you had a mentality shift, right? You started taking ownership over your life. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Where did you go from there? Did you know roofing, sales was something that you always wanted to get into, or were you more of like, I need to figure something out, and it kind of fell on your lap?
Yeah, I had roofing was the last thing, right? Roofing was never would have thought in a million years. I was actually in the fitness industry managing health clubs. And so I'd done that my whole life, had a lot of success with it. It's sales, right? And a multi-unit, right? Managing up to 30 locations. So right after my son was born, I got a job managing like 7 locations and was doing well, had a falling out with the company. And we actually moved to Michigan. And this is kind of where the whole roofing journey started. I get to Michigan and there's a guy there, James, that owned these Crunch Fitness, man. I still talk to him today. This guy's a gangster, man. And I just loved what James was about. Like, he was a no BS guy. Like, just, he ran it, dude. Like, the guy didn't know what Netflix was. Yeah. By the way, this is 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. He did 6 years ago, 5. He didn't know what Netflix was. He didn't own a TV. This guy had 2 homes that he custom built that were worth $5 to $7 million. They were empty. He didn't even live in them. He lived in this little townhome. Oh. This guy was worth over, $100 million. I mean, just crazy. And he was such a hard worker, but so humble. And he just taught me so much about entrepreneurship. And I really saw myself becoming an entrepreneur working with him. But I was managing health clubs for him. And one day I just ride around with him. Hey, man, where did you get all this? He's like, roofing. I'm like, wait, what? So why the hell did you buy health clubs? And, and he had a roofing company for like 30 years now, still has it. And it just dawned. I'm like, roofing, okay. And I interviewed a couple people for spots, and we offered them more money than they were making, like to the point where they were making like 50 grand right now. We offered them like 70 and they turned us down. And I'm like, that didn't happen to me. So I call these guys up, and I've always done this even with customers. And I'm like, hey, Joe, I just like, what happened, man? Like, it's something we did, was the offer? We're just trying to grow, And he's like, hey, man, loved you guys, loved everything about y'all, but I'm getting into roofing. I'm like, wait, what? And hey, dude, the second guy said the same thing. The third guy. And like, I was like, what is going on? Randomly, about a week later, guy I knew in Dallas calls me up and says, hey, man, I saw you post an ad about sales reps. Do you know sales reps looking in Dallas? I was like, yeah, it was a job for a friend. And he goes, I'm looking for salespeople for the roofing industry. I'm like, all right, man, what is going on?
There's a sign here.
Yeah, this come on. And so we get on the phone. He starts telling me about it. And he starts telling me people that are doing it. And I'm like, I worked with that dude in the fitness industry. That dude's a bum. I will bury that dude. There's no way that guy's doing that. And he's like, oh, man, he's killing it. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, let me see receipts. And they are. So I started seeing it, and I told my wife, I go, I want to do roofing. She's like, what? I'm like, I want to do roofing. And so, bro, I literally quit. And she was like, what the hell are you doing? We moved back to Texas, but she did want to be back in Texas. I started roofing. I worked for this company for like 10 months with my buddy. Dude, great guy. Just, we didn't see eye to eye. And then what I realized at that moment was, it wasn't them, it was me. I was an entrepreneur trapped in an employee's body, trying to get other people to live my goals and dreams, and being a hypocrite. I needed to go do it on my own. So I decided we're going to start a roofing company. And my wife was like, babe, I support you, but you're out of your mind. And I said, we're doing it, man. Like, I'm tired of it. I want to create something special. I want to have a legacy, and I'm not going to do it for working for other people. And so it was roofing, man. And people are like, do you have this passion towards roofing? No, zero.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love about roofing is, like, especially in Dallas, catastrophic hailstorms, and people's homes are damaged. Contractors have a terrible name, and we can provide a great service, a great experience, and I love that part of it. Like, I love being able to take a customer that has a bad stigma about the industry and make it a positive. I love that. I love being able to change lives for our employees. I love all that stuff. The roofing, it's not what I do, man. It's who I do it with and who I do it for. And so I love that aspect of roofing. And it's so much fun to me. It's like my sport. It's become my basketball or my football. It's just it's a game, and it's trying to evolve to get better, try to adapt to the game, to be better, to make our people better, to make our processes better, to make a better customer experience, anything we can do, and try to kind of sexy up roofing a little bit with the content and everything like that. And so if you would have bet me $1 billion that I'd be in roofing years ago, I'd be like, you're crazy. And here we are, man. And it's fun, and just having a fun journey doing it with some great people and expanding and just kind of enjoying the ride right now.
Yeah. No, you guys are crushing it. I've been seeing the content and you guys exploding. I think it's so interesting to echo what you said. Most people, and I'm the same, if you would have asked me a decade ago, I would have told you I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have time flexibility. I want to have no cap on my income. I want to retire my parents. I want to travel whenever I want, go to whatever restaurants I want and not have to look at the price. And if you would have asked me how I would get there, door-to-door sales, that's where I started in the solar industry, would have been literally completely off the radar.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me. Most people that I've found and hearing their stories, that's one of the cool things about podcasts. You can hear people's stories and kind of connect the dots. Most successful people didn't know how they were going to be successful. They knew they would be successful. Yeah. They knew why they wanted to be successful. They were clear on their goals and their vision and what they wanted to accomplish, but they didn't actually know the how. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what keeps people paralyzed from taking action. To your point from before, most people are fear of success. I think it's fear of the unknown, because they focus so much on the how. How am I going to start this roofing company? How am I going to live in Europe for 6 months? How am I going to support my new baby that I just had? And they focus so much on the how that they get paralyzed. And I've realized you can't really see things outside your radar screen, but that's where most of the magic happens. Yeah. You know, if you can't really see the next year, 2 years, 3 years, you can kind of have an idea and the energy of what you want to create, but the actual path there is sometimes invisible, and that's why most people don't take action.
Yeah, it is the fear of the unknown. It's like why you don't go try other things, and it's funny is because we all have this. We want to do something special. We want to be treated special. We want to do something special. We want to be great. We want to be remembered, but yet we're all afraid to do something that's going to maybe make us stand out or not be with the crowd, and then that in its own, which makes you not special, not great, and just like everybody else. And it's that I almost feel like it's the fear of failure that you're worried about what somebody else may or may not say about you, and it holds you back so much because if it was just guaranteed, then it wouldn't be special. It'd just be average, because that's the whole point of making it special, is it's not guaranteed, and you want to like pursue it, but then you're afraid that like what people are going to say about it. And I did it, right? I did it. It's like, well, what if I don't make it? What if I fail? But what if you don't? What if you do make it, right? And I it's crazy, but they do, man. People just hold themselves back. Do you remember like door-to-door sales? Yeah, that's what we did. Do you remember the first door you ever hit? Do you remember like those first, like
one of the scariest experiences of my life?
Yeah. How crazy? Like, what was your first? And maybe not your first door, but what was your? I know I'm porcupine, but what was like your first doors like when you?
I went up. So before I got into solar, I went out to do a summer in pest control. This was back in 2015. Buddy of mine, shout out to Austin, was like, hey, these are these guys crushing it, making 30, 40, 50K in a summer, selling solar pest control in New Jersey, New Brunswick, New Jersey. I was like, all right, let's do it. If this guy can do it, I can do it. I remember my first day out there, dude. I didn't do as much preparation as I should have.
Yeah.
There was like 6 of us in this van. We all went to Costco to go eat their $3 pizza and then go to the bathrooms. And then we just got dropped off an area. And I remember getting out of that car on the middle of the street and feeling like I was just a thumb out of water, just scared, confused. Like I've never been on a street before. I'm like, what's going on? And I hit 3 doors. The third door yelled at me, and I ended up just sitting on the curb for
Yeah.
that day. And
Yeah.
just I had a come to Jesus moment. And it was tough, dude. I remember door to door for me was so hard that I literally would come home every night after the doors and just have affirmations on my notes and say, you know, I'm going to be successful. I can knock doors. I'm confident. And I needed to do that. Thankfully, I had a little bit of Tony Robbins foundation. So I kind of knew some techniques to help will myself into actually going out there and accomplish it, dude. But it was one of the scariest experiences I've ever done in my life. And to caveat, because I was able to overcome that, knowing that growing up, I was super timid and self-conscious and an introvert naturally, intrinsically, like I'm an introvert. I have to really try hard to go out there and communicate. The fact that I was able to overcome that created so much confidence in me, in my ability to go out there and do hard things, and my ability to go out there and follow through with things that I say I'm going to do. And I think stacking those type of wins compounded over a period of enough time, like you did with your story, you start stacking these small little wins, and then you wake up one day and you're a completely new person.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I was a kid, and I say kid, I don't know, 10 years old, whatever. We didn't have any money. Like we were dirt poor, like not enough money for food. I used to go door to door. There was like a neighborhood not far, and I'd go door to door as a kid, and I would just say, I will do like yard work. I'll rake leaves. I'll cut your grass. I'll clean out a garage. I'll spray your, like I'll clean your, whatever you want for your house. And they're like, how much? I go, you pay me what you think it's worth. That's all I would do. And you know, it was crazy because you do like a bunch of work for somebody that'd give you like $5. You're like, what?
Thanks, dude.
And then like, you know, you do a little work for somebody that'd give you 50. You're like, okay, so it would level out. And I'd always be curious about it. But I remember when I got door to door, it's the same thing. I was scared to death. And I didn't know, I was like this. I thought I made the biggest mistake of my life. I remember sitting in my car crying multiple times, like I'm an idiot. Like I threw away a $150,000 a year job to go knock doors. Like this is the craziest thing. And then I remember that moment, man, of going back to when I was a kid, and I was like, stop trying to sell and just start serve. And I started just knocking on the door, like, man, I have something to do. But I remember, man, me and my buddy got into it together. He ended up going off and doing something else, but like, I remember we got the cops call us one day because we like wouldn't knock. We would like drive around like and like we saw this lady. We're like, hey, we're here seeing the hell. And she's like, what? We're like, the hell hit, right? And she's like, there's no hell over here. She's like, what are y'all really doing? You know, like they called the cops on us, and rightfully so. But we would walk around and just, I felt like knocking doors was the most metaphorical thing of life because you would literally talk yourself out of knocking the door. You would tell yourself that the red car owners are jerks, or hey, this guy has this college football sign, so he's probably not going to like me because he maybe knows I'm this fan. And you would just go to the door and just shut yourself down before anything even happened. And then when they'd answer the door, you'd be like, you know, we're here for the roof inspection. Beat it, nerd, you know, and like rightfully so. But it got a little bit better. And once I was able to overcome that, I'm like, this is easy. I'm just here to serve. I'm not here to sell you. Like I'm here to serve. And then I thought too, it's like, put myself in their shoes, man. If I'm eating a dinner at home, like 5, 6 o'clock with my family, and I'm not expecting someone, there's a knock on my door, I'm going into dad mode, like, who is that? And then there's some dude standing on my door. What do you want? And so I stopped taking it personal. And then I also thought too, well, why don't I bring an extra value like social media? Why don't we do something better? Why don't we work better referrals, work with realtor partners? Because that way we don't just have to go door to door, right? Because it was tough, but I think door to door, it taught me so much too, just about being an entrepreneur. Like you're gonna get your teeth kicked in every day, man. Get ready, and it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have some wins along the way, but it's gonna be rough. And it's taught me a lot, man. It's weird. And I think I'm actually an introvert. People think I'm not, but I think I am. And I like being alone. I like if I don't have to, but I had to teach myself all those things as well and how to get really good at them. But I think I'm the same way. And I think a lot of people really, when you see these successful people, they are deep down introverts that are super successful. Like they're almost like they don't really want all the attention at times, and they really weren't like that, but they grew into it and became that. So
yeah, no, I love that, dude. They, I heard this when I first started. It said door to door, 2 years of door to door is equivalent to a master's degree in communication. And communication, as we all know, is I think, the most important skill set on the planet, because it doesn't matter if you're running a roofing company. It doesn't matter if you want to create a philanthropy. It doesn't matter if you want to just travel the world. Your ability to communicate, connect with people, create influence, create rapport is going to serve you, whether you're a father trying to communicate well with your son, whether you're a wife trying to communicate well with your husband. Communication is such a skill set. And it's unfortunate because with technology in this new generation, I feel like the ability to communicate is starting to weather a little bit, because there's not environments for people to practice this. I'm curious though, Dustin. So going from obviously solopreneur as a sales guy to then running a business, entrepreneur, dealing with hiring, dealing with managing, dealing with coaching, training, leadership. What was that transition? Because I think there's a lot of people, I'm thinking of my own life, that have some killer salespeople, some people that can go out there and crush it day to day. They can hold themselves accountable. They're a great communicator. They're responsible. They're diligent. But a lot of people can't make that transition from I'm making the pizzas to I'm running a store making pizzas. What was that transition like for you? And what advice would you give people making that transition?
Man, it was hard. I struggled with that a lot. I've always been like a top sales rep everywhere I've been. And I thought everybody had to have my work ethic, and I would describe it. I was a great manager and a terrible leader. I like led our company in sales first 2 years. And what's funny is our greatest jump in revenue was actually year 1 to year 2. We 3x'd, okay? But it was our worst year in staffing, turnover. And I wanted everybody to be me. I wanted everybody to care as much as I did. I wanted everybody to work as much as I did, sell. And if they didn't, man, I couldn't understand it. And it was a hard thing for me to rationalize. Like, you don't want it bad enough. You can't, and I couldn't relate to it. And I couldn't understand it. And today I still can't understand it. But what I realized was, man, I need people like that in my life. And it's okay to hold people to a standard, but I need to hold them to their standard and stop holding people to my standard, because I was being selfish thinking everybody wanted what I wanted in life. And the reality was I needed to help them achieve what they wanted in life and tie in what they wanted in life into what I wanted. And so I needed to start listening instead of talking. I needed to start to understand who they were and what they wanted, because, man, there's people out there that want to work Monday through Thursday and make $50,000 a year and not work the weekends. They don't want to make $250,000 a year. They don't want to build some legacy. They don't want to be an entrepreneur. They want to work and enjoy their family and their time off, man. And who the hell am I to decide that that's wrong for them? But I did early on in my career, and I did that a lot, even as an owner, man. And I said, I've got to change this, and I got to start. If I'm here to impact people, I'm only going to impact the ones that I think that are like me. That's a hypocrite. That's not a leader. And I really started focus on, because I cared about people. And I had this when I opened Results. I said, man, of all the places in the world that people could work, they chose to work here. I don't take that for granted. Like, you could have went and worked at any other roofing company, and you chose this one. I want to help you win. And so I started finding out, like, what do you want? Like, who are you? What do you want to accomplish? And when I started to figure that out, I said, if this person wants to make this or do this or that, it's my duty to help them achieve that. That's the number one goal. And then what I started to find was then people want to help me hit my goals. But it wasn't easy, because I thought for a long time, I was like, nope, you got to work 7 days a week like me. You got to work 12 hours a day. You've got to grind. But for what? What are they grinding for? They don't even want what I want. And I'm forcing them to grind for what I want is the most selfish and ludicrous thing ever. And it stung when I kind of came to that realization, and I said, man, I'm going to be better for these people because they need me to be better for them. And I really started putting a lot of focus on, putting myself last and helping them be better. And I put more emphasis on helping them become better people. Like, if I can help people become the best version of themselves, the work's secondary, like good fathers, good people. And I just started focusing on that. And I'm like, my work will be here. Who cares? Like, how are you? What do you want to accomplish? Like, and why? Like, why do you want to make that money? Why do you want to do this? What's the hidden agenda? Did they doubt you like they doubted me? Well, let's go show them all and make them rethink everything they ever said about you. Is it you want to prove your science teacher in freshman year wrong? You want to show your dad that you can do it, your family, right? Any of those things, let me go help you win because I want to win with you. And I looked at, I feel like sports is always a great analogy to sales, man. I feel like sports, if you look at like Jordan to me is the GOAT. I don't think it's debatable. That's a different show, right? But he won championships with role players. If he doesn't have Steve Kerr and John Paxton, he doesn't win 2 championships because they hit big 3-pointers late in games. Championships are won with role players, right? And if you don't have great role players, you don't win. And there's some people that want to be role players. And why not help them be the best role player? Maybe that person's excited to be the best 6 man. It's my job as a coach and a leader to make them the best they can be. And I just really took all the focus off myself and put it all on them. And I truly believe that. Like, I believe in my heart that I work for them, they don't work for me. That's what I believe. You couldn't tell me otherwise. Sometimes it's even hard when people are like, you're the CEO. And I'm like, oh shit, I guess I am. I don't see that, man. I don't see that. I see myself as a person there trying to win with them, and I owe them something, and I want for me to be the best for them, but for them to be the best. And I think I came to this grip. Great players need great coaches, and great coaches need great players. And as a great coach, it's my job to help coach up great players and make them better players and to be better at their best. But at the same time I'm also a player that needs great coaches because sometimes I'm going to need the guidance, right? And I've got to be a great player to do things to put them in the right situations. And I think I'll never get to where I want to be in life without people like them, and they'll never get to where they want to be without people like me. And so don't get egotistical thinking that this is me. Results Roofing success has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with everybody around us. And there's no way we would be here without every single person. And I'm so grateful that they believed in the vision and made it their own, that I fully want to help them accomplish everything. And people always ask, well, what do you mean? What's your culture? I'm like, that is the culture, man. I promise you, I outcare every other owner there. There's nobody that'll outcare me. There's a lot of things they can do better than me. They probably have better strategies. They probably have better systems and processes, but they will never outcare me. And it doesn't work with everybody. And I've made my fair share of mistakes, and there's things that I've had to grow from being a leader. But I promise you, my intentions have always been good, and there's nobody that'll outcare me. And that's worked for us, right? That's worked for me. And it circles all back to what we talked about earlier. It's like being a dad. If my son spills milk, I don't want to fire him. And so if somebody on the team makes a mistake, I want to help them grow through it. I want to help them be better. Now, the one thing I will not tolerate is betrayal. And if I can put the word betrayal on you, I'm out. If you betray me, if you leave, you're dead to me. I don't want anything to do with you again because you gave up. Outside of that, man, mistakes, let's work through them. Let's look to grow. Let's not look to fire. Let's look to congratulate, not condemn and criticize, right? So I typically look for those things, man. And it's been a journey this last 4 years, and it's been a rough one, but it's helped me. I always look at it, I go, man, as much as I feel like I've helped people on the team, they've helped me so much grow too. So it's been a fun journey, to say the least. And I feel like I have so much more to go, man. I feel like in a baseball game, we're probably in inning 1 now. Still have a lot to go. So
Leadership, man. I love this quote. Leadership isn't you're in charge, so listen to me. Leadership is taking care of the people in your charge. And I can tell, dude, you're a great leader from the passion and the conviction. My question is CEO hat on, leader hat on, administrator hat on. As a CEO, you're wearing a lot of different hats. You know, I'm thinking of a couple of business owners I know who are great leaders, and they do a good job taking care of their team, pouring into their people. How do you manage or balance the leadership aspect of things and pouring into your people? Like you said, I love the fact you build the people will build the business. I couldn't agree more. But how do you handle the business side of things as well? Because I think as salespeople, a lot of salespeople, they get good at becoming a leader. They get good at becoming a producer. Like you said, you're always a top producer. But then going into the CEO hat, where now you're dealing with contractors, you're handling orders, P&Ls, EBITDA, all these things. What advice would you give to people? Or is it, hey, outsource that and focus on what you're really good at?
Yeah, if you that's part of it. I don't think everybody is a CEO and meant to be a CEO, and I didn't know if I was, and maybe I had to grow into that role. First thing is hire people better than you. That's a hold so many people back. They feel like I can't let that go because no one's going to do it like me. Man, shut up. You're not that good.
There you
And
go.
you're not that important. I surrounded the Avengers around me. So when I started the company, I said, here's where I want to go. I'm going to build this thing for where I'm going, not where I'm at. And I'm going to hire the best people, the best CFO, the best COO. So when we get to, and I remember I had this conversation, I don't need you right now, but I'll need you when we're 20 million. What? We don't need you right now, but we're going to need you. Here's what I'm willing to give you right now. And people thought I was crazy. They don't think I'm crazy anymore, right? How'd you grow? Well, remember when I told you to invest in this? If I was doing systems and processes for payroll, we'd probably be bankrupt, right? I outsourced that day one because of where we're going to go. And so many owners want to hold on to it. And I think it's because they're afraid to be exposed that someone's going to be better than them. I hope when this clock strikes 0 and they're hanging my jersey on the rafters, that everybody that worked for me, or at least a large majority of them, come out way better than I ever was. I would love that because that means I was a leader, created more leaders, and was able to do that. And I think you don't want to outsource it, but I think I understand what you're saying is like hire someone to do it in-house, right? Like have somebody that's better than you do that. And be realistic with yourself. There was actually a point where, like I said, year 2, I go, maybe I'm not meant to be a CEO. And I remember talking to my partners and saying, hey, if we could find a CEO that could do this better than me, I'll step aside because I just want to win. And I was realistic with myself, but I was willing to put in the work to become that guy, right? I wasn't just going to let it go. It's kind of like when you watch the Patriot documentary where Brady's like, I'm not letting this spot go. Like, I'm not letting it go. You're going to have to come work for it. But if there's somebody out there that's better than me, I'll step aside. I think it's understanding what you're great at, understanding your skill set, and tripling down on that. Like, leadership's my thing, and then hiring people around me to be better. And don't let go of those things until you have someone that can do that efficiently. And that's what I started to do is like, now, yeah, man, I could go sell 8 to 10 roofs a month, right? Easy. But I have a VP of sales. I have a VP of sales for Houston. So I have 2, right? I have an executive VP. I have 6 team leads and future team leads. Those 7 or 8 combined run circles around me. So my ego tells me, well, I'm better than them. I could do this. No, I'm not. I'm not even close to their level because as a group, we crush anything I'm capable of. So maybe some of those people operate 80% of what I do on sales. Maybe some of them operate 120% on operations of what I do. They're better than me at that. But here's what I know. Us together, we're unstoppable. And so I try to focus on that and put my ego aside with it to hire the people that are around me. So yes, early on, I think it always goes back to relative of where you're at in business. Hey, man, the first 6 to 12 months, I did everything. And I wore all the hats. I made a lot of mistakes. And then as I was able to see things that were taking up time that didn't have a big ROI, like data entry. Well, let's hire somebody for that. That gives me 15 hours a week. Great. I can go produce or train. I'm going to focus. I always identify 2 or 3 people on the team that I'm like, this person could be a future leader for us. I'm going 80% of my time in them because spending 20% on the dude that works 3 days a week, this guy works 7. I'm going to accelerate his time from where he's at to where he's going so I can develop him into a leader and he can take over this role almost better than me and let him handle this so I can go do something else. So I was just kind of identifying the talent, identifying the people, I think investing in them, building them up. And I think the lost thing of leadership, and it's mentally draining. And the hardest part about leadership that no one tells you about is, dude, it's not about skill. It's not about sales. It's not about any of that stuff. It is about the mental battles.
Yep.
And when your employees call you at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and they text you and they're struggling, do you answer? Or do you say, let me call you in the morning? That is the difference a lot of times in winning and losing. When they're dealing with their girl problems and you're like, I'm not dealing with that, I will coach them through that. And that's why we win. And if you are able to do that and I didn't even identify, people were like, Dustin, you have these spidey senses. I'm like, yeah, I can feel something's off. I'm going to call you. Man, what's going on? Oh, nothing. No, come on, man. What's going on? Oh, man, me and my girl are fighting. Let's talk about it. What happened? Give them the advice. Coach them through it. Because if I can coach them through those battles, dude, they're going to win at work. Because most of the battles that are lost at work are because something they're dealing with in their personal life.
Yes.
And so being able to coach through those, most of our meetings aren't about sales and numbers and processes. It's about that because the most successful and talented sales guy that's mentally unstable is going to lose. The most untalented sales guy that works his ass off and shows up every day is going to eventually win. And so I try to coach through those battles as well and coach them. It's helped us tremendously, man.
I love that you said that because I agree 100%. You could be the best leader, have the best coaching ability, best training, best value that you can add. But if you're not available to your team, none of that matters. Who cares if you know everything if you're not available? Availability, I think, just being accessible to your people is such an underrated skill set when it comes to leadership, but it's so important, because if your people can't count on you, then it doesn't matter how good you are as a leader, you're never going to be able to deliver and really call them forward in the way that they thought. And I think the reason that you have those spidey senses is because you're so plugged in with your people. So you can kind of feel the ebbs and flows and the energy of, okay, this guy hasn't been showing up, his energy's been low, it's not used to him, because you have a pulse on the organization so well that you can quickly intuitively feel, okay, I need to do a redirect here. Okay, I need to go check in with this. And I think if you're not feeling that as a leader, you're probably not tuned in and checked enough into your people, and that's probably a good indicator that you need to shift something.
A quote, or I see that you close. A quote I can say for leaders: your best ability is your availability. If you're there, man, you should be shocked at how far that goes for people. So you were touching on that, and sure, I've said that so much, is be available, man. But your best ability is your availability.
That's going in the nugget bank for sure.
Yeah.
Dustin, do you believe great people are found or trained?
Both, right? I think there's so it depends. Like, you could have maybe a great father that's not a great business guy, or a great father, or just a great person that's not a great sales guy. And I think that I look for that, and they can be trained. So you could take someone like, what do you say? Like, let's say, I always go Joe. I don't know why, probably because my business partner always says Joe Bag of Donuts, and it's like the funniest thing I've ever seen. He's like, oh, Joe Bag of Donuts. So Joe Bag of Donuts over there, say he has a great attitude, but maybe he's not a great sales guy. I can teach him how to be at least an average sales guy, right? Teach him enough things. You can't teach a great attitude, right? On the flip side, I've seen it. So I think both, right? I think it's both. And maybe I'm naive, but I always feel like everybody has something great inside of them that they can be brought out deep down. But I do think they can be found, right? But I also do think they can be trained, right? I've had success with both, and I look for both. I don't try to limit myself. I try to go after seasoned, green or seasoned slobbering sales dogs, right? And then I go after the green bean with a great attitude, knowing that there's a longer trajectory. But I typically look at people that are great people, or good people that have good intentions and good heart, good attitude. Because if they don't have a good attitude, great attitude, good person, they're probably not going to align with what I do, and we're probably not going to work. But I do think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've realized in my industry, it's interesting. When I recruit a solar guy in another industry, for example, or maybe a professional or a seasoned guy, a lot of times they come in with bad habits, or they've been burned, and sometimes it's harder to recondition. They have to unlearn a lot of things in order to kind of fit the culture, fit the mold, right, align with our values. But obviously the learning curve there is a lot easier. They come in, they're already trained up, less energy, and they can get producing, versus the green guy, where it's going to take a lot more work on the upfront, but usually sometimes they're more loyal because you're giving them the vehicle to change their life. And to your point, I don't think you limit who you look for. It's just, I think it's important to have a good a mixture of both, but understanding who you're dealing with when they come in the door, so you know how to navigate properly.
I think it is. I look at it like baseball. If you want to create a championship baseball team, typically they have a great farm system, and they homegrown talent, but then they go sign someone that they need to fill a weakness, right? So for us, what got us here won't get us there. And so we just had this meeting yesterday about hiring. We're taking $20,000 to $30,000 a month. We're going to carve off to go hire key leaders for our organization for not just 2024. They're going to start working in 2024, but we're looking for 2025. And so we've homegrown some talent. I love is that one of our VP of sales is a hired day one guy, man. Guy's been with me. We've been open 4 years and 4 months. He's been with me for over 4 years, right? One guy, someone we recruited from another company. So both guys, top guys, right? It's funny if you looked at like our top 5 in sales, I think, or top 6, 3 of them are homegrown, 3 of them are people that came recruited industry experience. So we look for both, but that's one of the things we're looking at this year is like, okay, we got to go out and invest in the future of the organization. We have a bunch of talented individuals coming up, but we do need to go get some talent out there, like leadership, sales, maybe industry experience. So we look at both and try to identify that. And we have some talented individuals on the team that have come up through the ranks. And I can think of, 4 of them right now. It's funny. 2 of them have experience and 2 of them have naturally worked their way up, right? So it's back to what you said, is so many people want to look at, well, is it, it's and or. I can have this guy or I can have this one. No, it's and. I'm going to have this and I'm going to have that, not or. And so I try to take that out a lot of times to make it a choice. And why not do both? Well, you're going to do door to door, or you think social media is better? Both. Well, wait, but I'm both. While you're knocking doors, post on social media, like make content, create content while you're out. So I fall under that category, but we're investing into the future. And so I'm going to go look at recruiting people. I will reach out to people on social media. What will it take for you to come work for us? Well, I'm happy where I'm at. I didn't ask you that. How much would it take for you to come work for us? And you'd be surprised. People will say a number. Now, I know that guy's a hired mercenary, and I know it's going to take me 6 months to get into my culture. And I know there's going to come things that he's not going to like certain things we do. And it's going to be getting him to adapt to our system and allow him to be himself inside of our system and not just tell him he's wrong, because he's not wrong. It's just different. Then I know this person that doesn't have any roofing experience, maybe some sales experience, is going to take 6 months before they have any success. That's okay too. Well, why not do both? And let's meet them at the finish line, right? So.
Love that, man. Let's segue a little bit. You mentioned content. You have a podcast with some UFC fighters, Kevin Holland and Terrence McKinney. What inspired you to create the podcast, get content? Obviously, you're successful offline business, a roofing company. What made you want to go online, and how did you get connected in your current podcast ecosystem?
Yeah, so podcast. First, I started content with the roofing company. I was like, I created a lot of content in the fitness industry. Different than most people were creating, like, oh, let me show you how to get big biceps. I try to target a different audience, like the person I want to lose 30 pounds. Let's just get you in the gym. Hey, you want to lose 30 pounds? Here's what you need to do. Come in, 30 minutes of weight training, hit this circuit, these 7 stations. You're going to do 12 to 15 reps. You're going to do 3 sets. You go do 30 minutes of cardio. Here's where we're going to be. Here's what your cardio day should look like, right? Like, I tried to be more like average workout, and then I created like funny stuff, man. Like, I remember one that went viral. It was like snowing in Detroit. I had this little scooter. We were in a pre-sale. The Detroit snow's crazy, and I'm in the scooter. I'm like, scoot on down to, like, people are like, I hope you fall off the scooter and break. I'm like, bro, y'all are brutal. But I just wanted to be different, like educate or entertain. So I was like, why not for roofing? No roofer bros were doing content. It was all like, they just went door to door. And so I saw roofing sucks. It's not sexy. I don't want to buy a roof ever. Like, it's not like a Saturday me and the wife go roof shopping. Yep. Typically, it's a tragedy when it happens. It has a bad name. Well, it's great content to educate and entertain. So that's where it started. The podcast with UFC, me and Kevin were at lunch one day after one of his fights. I've known him for a while. Really good friends with his manager as well. And was like, man, we need to get some content out there for you too. And let's get a podcast out there and just start talking about. That's where the Realize came from. Realize, recognize real talent, right? Let's highlight talented individuals, no matter walks of life. And we're all talented our own way, right? Mine was, whether it be a roofing company, entrepreneur, Kevin Fighter, he's also an entrepreneur. Terrence is in his camp. So started doing what Terrence was, let's just create content, because content's key. And I'll tell you, the bigger picture for me for content, and a lot of people don't know this, was going back to, I have no idea who my dad is. I don't have anything with my grandfather, and I had a step grandfather that I idolized that was a good man. I wish I would have spent more time with him, but I don't have anything, man. Like a couple photos, there's no videos, there's no nothing. I had 3 kids that are the world to me, and one day I want them to look back and go, man, that's my dad. And I don't want to say there's a million videos out there, but there's got to be 100,000 videos that I've created, right? Through podcast and content and post. And I want my kids to look back and go, that was my dad's journey. And so I have, for the last 7 years, posted 2 to 3 times a day, every day, on Facebook. I recently got an Instagram like 2 years ago now. But my Facebook's about 7, maybe 8. And yeah, it's about 8 now, maybe even 9. It's coming up on 9 this year, because I see the memories, and I see this memory of the kid I used to be, the person that, I had this hunger, and I had no grammar, couldn't freaking spell. It was horrible, but I'm like, I'm gonna be successful one day. I'm gonna do da 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 da. And I had just a kid running around, man, like chasing my dreams. And now I see this person that I've evolved to, and I still go, man, I have so far to go. But I get to watch my own journey at times. And then I think, how impactful for that be one day that my kids will have my Facebook and they'll be able to go see my memories. They'll be able to go through and see these 10,000 videos on my phone right now that I've recorded the last couple of years. They'll be able to go see 3 podcasts. They'll be able to go see Results Roofing that Dad built from the ground up. They'll be able to see the Results Painless Dent Repair, the other companies we've built, the companies I've invested in. They'll get to see this whole journey of their dad and know exactly who their dad was, and have those memories. And so you want to know how I got here? Take a look, man. There's 3 to 4 posts a day. I left you the blueprint. You willing to follow it? The good, the bad, the struggles, and everything in between. I post, everything I've been through. I don't hide from it. I don't run from it. I face those demons. And those videos of, it's who I am. Some are funny, some educate, some are off the wall, some are a joke, right? Some aren't serious, but you're going to see it. And I think that to me is the ultimate, like, I wish I had that stuff. I don't have that. And, I don't wish anymore, but if you gave me the choice, I'd love to have that. Well, I don't know any of that. So I want to leave that for my kids. Like, I want to live like, man, this is my dad. Look, you want to know who my dad was? Here he is. Man, my dad loved me. My dad took this photo of it. Look, my dad's got 10,000 photos of just Connor, 10,000 of Kobe. We have a Disney folder of, I think it's 20,000 photos. I document all that so you're going to remember it, and I do it for them. And so if I think about those memories, why not create it for the companies too and the podcast? Because it's all content there, and it's fun to look back on who you were and like, have you grown and you progressed? And that's why I've done it, and I've just transitioned it into business.
I've never heard that answer before, dude, but that is powerful, because you're right. Everyone talks about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
You want to create a legacy. You want to make an impact. To some degree, your offspring is your legacy, right? Your lineage, they carry the name. But everything that we have when we pass is gone, right? You can't take anything with you. The cars, the watches, the clothes, the experiences even, right? The Egyptians tried. You can't do it. But the one thing you can leave is your story and your journey. And in the 21st century, recording content is that, because it goes into the cloud, and as far as we know, will outlive us and generations to generations. Man, that's powerful, dude.
I used to think that legacy was the same thing, money, the company I built, and now I realize the legacy is my children. The legacy is how my children turn out, what they say about me, what they grow up to be, right? That's the real legacy. And this company and the money is all just a tool and a vehicle to maybe provide stuff for them, but ultimately how they turn out is the legacy, and what they become is the legacy. Your children are your legacy, and that's what matters. And me and my wife, I love my wife, and my wife loves me, and she's my best friend, and we do everything together. But that's our legacy, is our children, right? That's the ultimate legacy. And that's what people are like, well, I'm going to send my kid. I never understood his parents. It always bothers me. They're like, well, I'm going to send my kid off because he's going to earn it. He's going to go work a real job, and I'm not just going to hand it to him. No, man, he's going to work a real job for me. Okay. Why not? If my kid wants to go work in a pizza shop, guess what? I'm going to buy the pizza shop, or I'm going to open one, and he's going to make pizzas in there.
Come on.
And he's going to work for me, because there's nobody on earth that's going to want him to succeed more than me. But there's also nobody on earth that's going to hold him more accountable than me and push him to be his best. And if he wants to go out there and work his ass off for someone, he's going to do it for us together. Then when he's ready, then he can have the pizza place, or get it, or buy it, or whatever. I'm not sending him off to some random pizza place to work for somebody that doesn't have his best interest at heart. I want to hold him accountable. That's ultimately like the goal. And that to me will be the real legacy. And that's why I do all this stuff.
I love that, man. Powerful. A couple more questions as we wrap up, dude. This has been amazing. It's been awesome hearing your story and your passion. Obviously, a lot of people see the success, and especially in the 21st century with social media, everything's a highlight reel, right? You see the end result, but not many people see the journey, the trials and tribulations, the challenges. So a couple questions on that. Do you still feel imposter syndrome at times? And when you do, what do you do to drown out that noise?
I have a God complex that I think I'm better than everyone, and I can do more than everyone. And at the same time, I'm the most insecure person on the earth, that I think I'm inferior, that I don't have what it takes, I'm going to lose it all, and that everybody around me is going to beat me and take my spot. I suffer with that every single day, and that's what I feel. I do it all the time. And I don't know if it's yin yang. I don't know why, but that's what I feel. I feel like there's not a person on earth that'll outwork me. There's not a person that can do what I do. But at the same time, I feel like everyone around me is better than me, and that everybody could beat me, and they're all working to take my spot. And that I've literally woke up at 2 a.m. freaking out because I was going to get fired, even though I'm the CEO of my own company. Nobody can fire me, right? That's how I feel every single day. And it pushes me to be better. And I think it's like people need to learn that you need to own that. It's a feeling, right? I get this whole note, well, I have anxiety. Man, welcome to the real, we all do, okay? You've been through the things I've been through. You have a lot of trauma. Anxiety is a feeling, right? Happiness is a feeling. Sadness, it's all feeling, man. Like we feel this when we get something. Like I laugh is you put me on a example, we're in Vegas. Last time we rode that stupid roller coaster at New York.
Yeah, sketch.
Freaking out. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
This is crazy. My wife is I'm freaking out, man. Why did I feel so anxious and she's so happy? We're on the same ride next to each other. And so it was a feeling that I wanted to just get off this ride, man. I was freaking out. And so I feel like that's you, when you feel those things, it's like, okay, now what? And the more you run from these, the dragons or the demons, the bigger they get. And so if you have that fear of something and you keep running from it, it gets bigger. Then eventually what happens, it gets so big, you can't do anything to it, and it consumes you. For me, I was like, okay, I gotta stop running from these things and just face them head on. So I think understanding that, dude, this is a feeling, but it's gonna pass. Let it pass. And then once the storm blows through, just be ready and stay ready. So I think it's okay to understand these feelings. I think more people are afraid that nobody feels that. They're like, I'm on this journey and I'm all alone. Nobody else feels this. I'm afraid to talk about it. I'm afraid to feel this way and to deal with it because there's no way anyone's going to understand. Here's a crazy thing. Everybody understands and everybody's feeling it. So just own those feelings and know they're part of the process, but keep fighting through them because you're going to feel something regardless. So keep fighting through them. Keep fighting through them until the point where you stop feeling them, right? You almost get better with it. And when I feel those feelings, I laugh. I'm like, all right, man. I'm like, how in this day did I feel like I was going to get fired? Now I feel like I'm the best to ever do it. But I stay the same. But no matter what I feel, I still get the work done. Well, I don't feel like doing it. Who cares? Success doesn't care what you feel like. Success doesn't care if you're sick. Success doesn't care if you're tired. Success doesn't care if you're happy, if you have anxiety. Success doesn't care how you feel. You just need to get it done. And so I know I need to get it done. It doesn't matter the way I feel. What does it matter the way I feel? Do it anyways. It doesn't matter. You're sad? Okay, do it anyways. You're happy? Great, do it anyways. You woke up sick? Doesn't matter. Do it anyways. And I just say I'm going to do it because why? I know what I want and I'm going to get there. And you go through all these different chapters. I feel like when we first started, I was all alone. I just had my wife and kid, and I feel like nobody understood me. I feel like I was all alone and everyone doubted me. And they had no clue what I really wanted. They had no clue what I was really about. I feel like I had no friends. And as I grew, I kind of got through that, right? Then I got to a world, even recently, like I felt like people just thought I was successful and had money, and that's why they wanted to be around me, certain people. And that caused me to isolate myself from some people, not everybody, because I know I have people around me that have been here and they truly are, but then I felt alone again. And it's like, I feel like some days I'm surrounded by 1 million people, but you're still all alone because nobody understands your thoughts, right? But that's okay because they're not supposed to. They're your thoughts. So I think just being able to know that it's okay to feel the way you feel, it doesn't make it right or wrong. Understand that they're a part of the journey and understand that everybody is going through what you're going through or have gone through, and it's okay. Just keep going. And so that imposter syndrome, I think it's a sign of growth. I think it's a good thing, right? I actually think procrastination is a good thing to a degree because when you're procrastinating, why is it you're procrastinating? Well, typically you want to do something else, but you really just haven't done it yet and you don't know maybe how to start it. To me, procrastination is a good thing because it's telling you that you want to do more. Now you just need to go do it, right? I feel like imposter syndrome is kind of the same as well. You're telling yourself you're either not where you want to be or you're not who you're supposed to be, and you're either trying to grow into that or you're trying to grow out of where you are. I always felt like when I had imposter syndrome where I was in a situation and I'm like, how did I get here? It was either because I wanted to grow into that person and I just wasn't there yet, or I was in a situation where I need to grow to the next level and I hadn't done it yet. And so I think it's like, it's almost a good thing. Like you're trying to become a better person. So identify, I talked about this the other day in our leadership meeting, was recreate. And I feel like when we think recreate, we think, I got to strip everything down and start over. I got to recreate myself. No, no, no. Recreate yourself every day on the good. So what did you do today that created wins? Recreate that for tomorrow. What did you do last month that created wins? Recreate that for this month, right? What did you do last year that created wins? Recreate that. So recreate yourself every day with the good you do. So if you looked at tomorrow when you wake up, you said, what are 3 to 5 things I did yesterday that were good? Recreate those. Now, what you start to do is you realize when you're winning, you have certain habits. And then there's always 1 or 2 things that you're doing that are holding you back. For a lot of us, an easy one to relate to, substance, alcohol, right? Like you drink, you think it doesn't affect you, it does. Eliminate those and watch your life take off. And I've been able to identify a lot of those things, and I think it helps you go to that next level. But what I found is when I have that imposter syndrome, it's usually because I'm doing 1 or 2 things I'm probably not supposed to be doing. And if I cut those things out, it would help me get to that next level, right? And just keep recreating myself every single day with the wins, recreate those to help me get to that next level.
Dude, I love the reframe concept of you're on the roller coaster. Wife is excited, you're anxious. What's it? A reframe. I love the imposter syndrome. It's not negative. It's actually an indicator telling you what you're supposed to do. So just cut your thoughts out, cut the noise, and just do it. The reframe is so important because ultimately I think in life, we don't get what we want. We get the meaning that we give the thing that we want. You know, 2 things can happen to the same person. 2 bad things could happen to the same person, bad things, but they could take completely different experiences from it to change the trajectory of their life, the way that they frame it, they look at it, and the perspective. One person can go into a bad situation and have a rough childhood and use that as a badge of honor to go create success and never allow that to happen in his family ever again. And the other person can use that as the alibi, as an excuse of why they didn't do what the successful person did. So I think reframing and the game of shifting the connotation with thoughts and experiences, it's some high level thinking, but that's what you need to do in order to take your life to the next level. You have to start thinking, you have to start processing better. You have to start realizing, okay, all this stuff is happening for me, not to me. So let me actually find the common denominators of what's going on in my life and start leaning more into the things that are positive for me, the things that serve me, the things that make me feel good, not the latter.
I think, you to be successful, and you see most successful people, is they're able to process information rather quickly. They can process information rather quickly, and then they're able to adapt or prioritize super quickly, right? It's like you said, it's not happening, to you, it's happening for you. So you're able to process that. And it's not that you have some crazy solution. You just get to the solution faster because you're already processed it. You're like, okay, this shit happened. I don't like it. This sucks. Okay, now what? I got to move on. And so you're able to process it rather quickly and then just come up with a solution. And the faster you focus with the solution, the faster you're going to get through it. And so it's being able to do that rather quickly. And it's like you said, I do, man. Here's the funny story. I own a roofing company. And in Texas, we have some really big roofs. My number 1 fear in life is snakes. I can't stand snakes. Number 2 is heights. I am deathly afraid of heights. Like deathly afraid of heights. And people are like, you opened a roofing company? Man, my first roof I ever got on, I didn't get on it. I got to the ladder, to the gutter. I was shaking so hard that I was like, not funny. We had to replace the person's gutters because I dinged them up so bad because the ladder, I was freaking out. And people were like, do you still get on them? I get on steep roofs all the way to the top. And I'm deathly afraid of heights. And so I get super anxious. So if I look down, I'm like, oh man, I get really, really anxious. If we get on a skyscraper and I look out the window, I get that anxious feeling. I got friends that are like, oh, look. I'm like, get away, And so it is that. Why is it happy for them and freaking out for me? It's the same situation. One person gets the adrenaline of this is fun, and the other person's like, oh my God, my life's in danger, right? So it's just seeing the other side of it will help you go so far and just understand it's just the way you feel right now, man. It'll be okay because this person's happy, right? So don't let that fear overcome you or control you, man. Control it and just take it on, process it, and okay, let's get through it.
100%, dude. Man, we could sit here and talk about leadership, sales, mindset all day, but for sake of time, you've been awesome, by the way. It's been a pleasure. My last question for you, man. So if you could go back in time, back to when you were a teenager, homeless, dealing with all the challenges that a lot of people deal with as they grow up, especially in your situation, what advice would the Dustin today, who's crushing it, still, making it happen, awesome father, awesome leader, business owner, what advice would the Dustin give today, give to that 13-year-old Dustin?
I said it earlier, be you, they'll adjust, but man, be yourself. And the stuff you're going through right now doesn't really matter. It's going to be okay. I wasted so much time, effort, and energy focusing on other people and what they thought. And as I get older, I feel like that's what really holds so many people back from friendships, from having fun, from success, is they're so worried about what Sally Pants is going to do it, and Positive Polly, and their sister down the street. Like, they're so worried about what they think instead of what they think with themselves. And so when you're 13, man, stop worrying about what other people think of you. They don't matter. Like, they don't. In the grand scheme of things, you don't really matter. Like, you're not that important, like, in the grand scheme of things. And so what you do, if you go make a mistake, catastrophic, no one's really going to care. And so if I could go back and tell myself, like, hey, Dustin, be you. They'll adjust. They will, every time. And stop worrying about what other people think of you, because they're probably not going to be around anyways. And they don't really care, and they're only judging you on stuff that they're insecure about. So who cares? And now I don't give a shit what people think of me anymore. If you're not in my immediate circle, then I don't care. If you're not my wife and kids, I don't care. I can tell you the only thing that ever hurt me in my life, the last story we'll end it on, this is where I know, like, you could tell me, like, my content sucks. I'm like, whatever, dude, I don't care. Yeah. It does, right? And man, we took my kids to Florida. I was like, we just started the YouTube channel. I think I just hired our production bros, and we had just got the YouTube. I don't even know if we had a podcast yet.
Shout out to the bros.
The bros, the cozy bros. Those are my guys. Those are like day one dudes. Love them. Couldn't do what I do without them. And we're in Florida, and my oldest, we took him to like the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum.
Yeah.
And then across the street was the ship one. He's like, Dad, I want to go to the ship. I was like, all right, cool. We'll go afterwards. I look it up online. It says it closes at 8. So I'm like, bet. We'll get out of here and we'll go. 6 o'clock. We get in the rental car and we drive, and we pull over there and they're closed. We're like, dude, online it says 8. You'll close at 6. And he doesn't understand. He's like, Dad, you said you're gonna take me to the ship. Dad, you said Connor, they're closed. And we're driving. Nothing's even being talked about. He's like, Dad, you promised me. I'm like, Connor, they're closed. I don't tell you. He's like, no, you're not. You said that. He goes, you know what, Dad? Your YouTube videos suck. And I was like, bro, it hurt my heart. I was like,
cut deep.
I was like, what? And I wanted to punch him, but then I started laughing, and then I was like, that actually hurt my heart. He goes, yeah, Dad, they suck. You shouldn't do YouTube videos anymore. And I'm like, bro, he's 4. He just shot my wheels were off. Like, he everything. But I was laughing about it because it was so funny, but it brought me back. My wife's like, you don't care what anyone thinks but us. I'm like, yeah, exactly. If you're not in my immediate circle, man, I don't care what you think. If you're not my wife and kids, I don't care what you think. And everybody else, they're going to form an opinion about you regardless. So when you're 13, you're 30, you're 43, 53, stop worrying about what they think, bro. Who cares?
Sound advice, man. Dustin, where can the audience find you if they want to get connected?
Results Roofing is a roofing company. Dustin Gutkowski, all social media platforms. If you type in Dustin Gutkowski, there shouldn't be any other ones. So it's easy to find. Instagram, Facebook. If you have like business related questions, I'm on Patrick David's at Manect. That's a great place to connect with a lot of people. You can ask questions for a really low price, $10, $20, to all kinds of experts in any field. Solar people, podcast people, business, politics. I mean, it's crazy the experts you can find on there. I'm on there as well. If you have business-related questions, anything personal, like any social media, man, I'd love to hear from you. If there's anything I can help you with, I'd love just reach out.
Guys, Dustin, reach out to this man. The dude's a stud if you're trying to get into roofing or just looking to get some counsel on life, sales, leadership, entrepreneurship. He's the real deal. He's the man. Dude, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It was awesome. We'll see you guys on next episode. Peace.